Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Good morning to everyone. Sa aking mga kababayan, malugod ko po kayong iniimbitahan na maupo at makinig sa ating susunod na balitaktakan. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our next talk. We invite you to please take your seats and to join us. This morning po, we have the Laji, Tanaga, Ambahan, and Tigsik with 4 amazing poets. For this talk, 4 poets introduce 4 of our traditional poetic forms with a performance of their sample works. Our current poets for this morning are Mr. Renato B. Evangelista, who was the first Mangyan lawyer for the Hanunoo Mangyan tribe in Mindoro. He holds a Master's of Law degree from the University of Essex, United Kingdom, as a British evening scholar. He is a practicing lawyer and a legal advocate for indigenous people's rights in the Philippines. And he is the founding and managing partner of his law firm that practices in the capital of the Philippines in Manila. He is the past president and member of the Board of Trustees in the Mangyan Heritage Foundation, which preserves and compiles Mangyan literary works and indigenous knowledge. We also have Mr. Dorian Merina, who is a poet, journalist, and translator who lives in northern Philippines. He is the author of the award-winning book, Di Achichuk, Poems and Images from Batanes. Merina has led a community-based project to record and document Laji, the indigenous oral poetry of Batanes. He is the co-founder of the community library Aklatan sa Vidug in Sabtang, Batanes, and he teaches media studies at the University of the Philippines in Diliman. He is a tribal member of the Ivatan people of Batanes and is of mixed ancestry. Welcome po, sir. We also have with us this morning Father Wilmer Joseph Tria. He became the ordained priest of Caceres on November 9, 1991. He finished his PhD in philosophy at Angelicum Rome in 1995 and is currently the parish priest of Saint Raphael the Archangel in Pili, Kamsur, the church advocacy officer of Ateneo de Naga University, the CEO of Consuela Chito Madrigal Foundation in Bicol, and he is also the present president of the Bicol Association of Catholic Schools and the corporate secretary of the Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines. Welcome po, sir. And finally, we have Father Albert Alejo, or Paring Bert. His immersion in popular spirituality and social issues during the 1970s martial law in the Philippines led him to get attracted to the Jesuit mission of faith and justice. He co-founded the Institute of Indigenous Peoples Education, Mindanaoan Initiatives for Cultural Dialogue and Sacred Springs, Dialogue Institute on Spirituality and Sustainability, and the Amuma Cancer Support Group Foundation. Paring Bert serves as a board member of the No Peace Without Justice while teaching at the Faculty of Social Sciences, the Pontifical Gregorian University in Rome. Welcome po, sir. We will have... thank you. I kindly invite our speakers now. They will have a talk, and then at the end of their talks, we'll have a short Q&A session for you.
Good morning, everybody. I am a member of the Mangyan from the island of Mindoro. And before I start my talk, I would like to request for the playing of the audio file. This is our traditional guitar. Okay. Now, as you see, I'll keep on talking while we're listening to the music. The Ambahan is a Mangyan indigenous poem, distinctly in our tribe. Okay, the Ambahan is, in fact, not strictly a poem. This is also a song. Okay, we do not recite the Ambahan. We instead sing it. And this is a conversational piece, but mostly the form is metaphoric. We were able to preserve it through the use of our pre-Hispanic syllabic script. Next slide, please. So these are the communities where I come from when I was a child. And in these gatherings, this is the time that poems are exchanged. like songs. And these exchanges, this is conversational in character. Next slide, please. Okay, this is the typical couple, Mangyan couple. In fact, these are my grandparents, and the baby was my mother. Okay, next slide, please. Now, there is a movement in our tribe to reteach to the youngsters the Mangyan arts. That includes the Ambahan, the traditional weaving, and the syllabic script. Okay, next slide, please. Now, during gatherings, this is when mostly, especially the elders, they recite the poems. They sing it. Okay, the poems are characterized by in different stages of life, and what happened is that during 1960s there were missionaries from the Society of the Divine Word who went to Mindoro, and then they discovered that we have a lot of Ambahan collections. Actually, there are at least 20,000 Ambahan poetries have been collected, but so far, only 206 were translated. Okay, because it needed poetic translation and not merely a literal translation. Next slide, please. Okay, again, this is the reteaching of the traditional arts, okay, and the gathering when there's another music instrument. The Ambahan is sung or recited, but without musical instruments. Next slide, please. Okay, this was an attempt of definition to define what is an Ambahan by the writer, an SVD priest, Anton Posma. He's a Dutch guy who eventually left the priesthood and got married to a Mangyan who was my distant aunt. Okay. Now, he says, it's a set of poetic expressions with a measured rhyme of 7-syllable lines, vocalized as a chant without determined melody or too much melodic variation, without the accompaniment of musical instruments. Okay, next slide, please. It is recited, as I said, for purposes of verbalizing in a metaphorical way certain human situations or characteristics. That's why when, for example, a father would like to give a message to a child, he will not give a child direct advice. He will sing the Ambahan, but the Ambahan would pertain, for example, to a bird that's like falling or whatever is in the nature. It could be a vine, it could be the mountains, it could be the stream. Okay, so next slide, please. So it's same, okay. This is the general characteristics of Ambahan. But next slide, please. So eventually, Mr. Posma compiled 261 Ambahans, had it translated, and we were able to have it published. This is the original publication, but this second book had a Filipino translation because the book was in Mangyan to English, no Filipino translation. This one has a Filipino translation. Now, years later, we formed the Mangyan Heritage Foundation, and then this is the book that we came up. It's called Bamboo Whispers. Okay, it's Bamboo Whispers because the idea is that when you go around the Mangyan communities, you will see writings of the script in bamboos. And if you know how to read the script, these are like poems, or like these are like you would see love letters, because normally the Mangyans would write the poem so that other people may not understand to whom it is directed to. But for example, lovers would pass by, and the woman would know that that message, that poem is for her. So, okay. Now, I'll just, that's it. Okay, I'll just give you a sample of the Mangyan Ambahan. That is like, I'll sing it. Si ay pudbay upadan nukang tinaginduman may ulang madikagnan. May takip madikaywan nukang tinaginduman gasiyon di saadngan gapagtang dayon di man. Here's the translation so that you will. You, my friend, dearest of all, thinking of you make me sad. Rivers deep are in between. Forests vast keep us apart. But thinking of you with love, as if you are here, nearby, standing, sitting by my side. Thank you.
Kind reminder for our for the German friends in the audience, there is a real-time German translation devices available. You can get them from the back if you want to follow along. Thank you.
Kapyan kamo panujo sa tavu si chamovukas. Good morning, everybody. I'm here to share with you the tradition of Laji, which is our traditional poetry of Batanes. This is one of our elder singers from the island of Itbayat. Next slide, please. Just first to situate us, we are going from Mindoro. You can see where the Mangyan people are in the central there, and Batanes is way up in the north. So we are the smallest and most remote province of the whole Philippines, and we are between Taiwan and the northern coast of Luzon. We are composed of 3 islands, Itbayat, Batan, and Sabtang Islands, and it is home to the Ivatan people of Batanes. This is Lola Filomena Obalde, one of our elder Laji singers. I first was introduced to Laji more than 25 years ago through her art and her verbal art. Next slide, please. Important to understand that Laji is an indigenous verbal art of melody and poetic language. So Laji is always sung. So unlike Ambahan, we don't have it written. It's always sung, it's always orally composed. It's usually done in a social setting. So we can do it during a pre-wedding ceremony, it's called kayun, or we do it in a wake for a deceased person, or it can be in a more informal, like a drinking session, where you pass the laji from person to person. And they can be dramatic, they can be ironic, it can be funny, it can be tragic and sad. So it has a great diversity of melody and great diversity of content. These are 2 of our elder singers, Marta Vaso and Marcelo Aguas on the right. And the gentleman on the bottom left, his name is Otto Schrier. And he was the first governor of Batanes under the American colonial period. This is 1908, 1909. And he is from Hamburg, Germany. He was the first governor in Batanes. And he came, but he was trained as a linguist. So he had a really good ear for language. And he provided the first transcriptions into English of some of the Laji. So I just want to mention this interesting connection between Batanes and Germany as well, Otto Schrier. Next slide. I just want to share with you a couple examples and then talk about some of the lines. This is the village of Savidug, Sabtang, where my grandmother was born and raised, and it's also where I live now with my family. This song is from the singers Rosita Alabado and Melesio Alasco, the island of Sabtang. It's called Nununok Tutokon. Nunuk is a kind of a tree. Tokon means hill or mountain. It goes, Nununok Tutokon, Minangas kadisina, Ichapong dia, Amyakano nilaongahan na, Kapaitala maranava suawang di Dawood. Tamiando inayab nga na. Tamiando inayab nga na. And it continues from there. But that's the basic melody. And this is a good example of how Laji is very intimately connected with nature. So you can see here, the speaker, the singer is on a hill. There's a tree. It's beautiful. It's flourishing. Then suddenly there's a storm, and it's destroyed, but the speaker is kind of within the ocean and tree. And because of that, as you can see, he says he can no longer, or she can no longer see her loved one that's in the ocean coming home from fishing. So it's a song of loss. It's kind of a lament. It's a song of losing someone. But interesting, at the end, the last line is, uminahay niya diyakan. It means they told me this. That's how they learned. But they're not talking about people. They learned it from the ocean, from the waves, from the wind. So that's where they're kind of in communion with nature and natural forces. And that's often how we see Laji interacting within the culture and the social setting. Next slide, please. Just one more example. This one is called Aya Katayug. It's Katayug we can think of as a relative or a loved one. This comes from the singers Paciencia de Guzman and Aurelia Ponce, both of It Bayat. And this has a different tone. All of them have slightly different melodies. It depends on the singer and the village. Even different singers within the village can have a different melody. Aya Katayug. Katayog borini kakawiyay, taihaya sapsapan, uhawa dudinom, asapan tasiya, o simano sayrin ni amman tumayil. Siren means a fish hook. And so you're asking the person to come. Hawa is ocean. So you're asking, come with me, help me look for this fish hook in the middle of this vast ocean, right? So this is an example, like the Ambahan has also, of a metaphor, deeply metaphorical language. You're saying like, come help me in this endless quest to look for something that I have lost. I need to find again. Next slide, please. And so there are only around 17,000 people in Batanes. And in the diaspora, maybe double that, so maybe 30 to 40,000 people. Although Ivatan is the primary language that people use in Batanes every day, it still can be considered an endangered language. And the Laji is absolutely an endangered language. An endangered verbal art, an endangered tradition as well. So we have launched projects to preserve and revitalize Laji in our communities. The picture on the left is the first Ivatan scholar, Dr. Florentino Ornedo, to document and to study Laji. And in his honor, we have launched programs, contests and workshops to train the next generation in Laji and to compete and to produce new Laji. On the right, we have put all our resources on a website. I invite you to check it out. You can see video, you can see translations. It's ivatanlaji.com, and it's part of our restoration and our efforts. And finally, I'll just say, before I came here, I met with some of the tribal elders, and they told me, I explained what I was doing. They said, tell them that Laji is our connection to our ancestors. It's how we know who we are and where we are from. And so when people ask me why I do this work, it's not to preserve some relic of the past. It's because I think that all these urgent problems we face today, climate crisis or injustice or problems we face, it's not going to be solved by just technology or the newest app you can download. We need these traditions to help reconnect us to each other, to ourselves, to the earth. And so that's why I think these kinds of traditions, Laji or all these other indigenous traditions, the music, the chants, we need them in order to confront what we face today as a people all together. So, Diyos mamahas Diyos atavo. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. I didn't know I could prepare a PowerPoint. So while on my way to Germany, I wrote my thoughts. So hopefully you won't mind if I just read the text. Tigsik. So my task here is to explain the Tigsik as a poetic and prophetic voice of the Bicolano culture. So poetry is a universal language, we all know that, transcending borders and touching the divine. So it's always inspired by the divine. After all, it's a divine language. It is a sublime medium where humanity and the sacred converge, lifting the soul to express profound truths. Every culture from every corner of the globe has its own poetic tradition, as universal as wine. In the Bicol region of southern Luzon, Philippines, this tradition is called Tigsik, a vibrant form of poetry that blends celebration, wit, and incisive social critique. Derived from the Bicolano term meaning toast and tease, Tigsik is both an invitation to revelry and a challenge to engage. It begins with a toast to capture the audience's attention, followed by a playful or poignant exploration of a topic, be it love, family, nature, or societal issues. Through humor, sarcasm, or sharp critique, Tigsik entertains while prompting reflection. Its spontaneity and accessibility make it a cornerstone of Bicolano culture, often performed during communal drinking, the same with the Laji, sessions where participants craft verses on topics ranging from the mundane to the sacred. Tigsik's roots predate, I conjecture, Spanish colonization in the 16th century. Before imported glasses and wines, Bicolanos drank fermented coconut sap, or called tuba, from polished coconut shells, honing their wit through spontaneous Tigsik exchanges. These gatherings were intellectual arenas testing participants' ingenuity in vocabulary, rhyme, and ideas. The freer the flow of tuba, the wittier the verses, as creativity flourished in the warmth of camaraderie. Unlike modern gossip, which emerged under the colonial influences, pre-colonial Tigsik was a pure expression of communal wisdom, deeply tied to the land's natural bounty. Tigsik follows a structured yet accessible form, typically featuring 8-syllable lines with end rhymes, creating a rhythmic and engaging cadence. For example, I come from Bicol, so I will talk about Mayon volcano. Tinigsik ko ining Mayon, bulkan na magayon-gayon. Sa daraga na gipradon, tinago kan panganuron. So in English, I raise a toast to fair Mayon, a perfect, peerless volcanic cone. For a maiden no longer chaste, a cloud drew close to veil her face. So when you go to Mayon and you're no longer a virgin, you will never have the chance to see its perfect cone. So indeed, a tigsik might begin with tigsikoan. My tigsik is about a toast to, followed by the mention of the subject matter, then by witty or critical elaborations of the topic. Other than the rhyme and the strict 8-syllable, tigsik has a simple pattern. Its simplicity mirrors the parables of the gospel, profound yet digestible, crafted for the common tao, for the masses. This accessibility distinguishes tigsik from more complex poetic forms, making it a powerful tool for mass communication and social awakening. In today's Philippines, where systemic issues like government corruption, exploitation of small businesses, and inadequate education persist, Tigsik holds transformative potential. In 2025 trillion peso march, a protest prayer rally at EDSA People Power Monument and across the country highlighted the brazen corruption that has cost the nation 1 trillion pesos to the pockets of politicians, contractors, and officials. Investigations, as noted by journalists, may take years, and cynics warn that Filipinos may forget voting for the same corrupt leaders in the next elections. Yet, Tigsik, as a poetic and prophetic medium, can keep the moral fire burning. Its witty, accessible verses can educate and empower farmers, fisher folks, and other excluded from elite systems, delivering sharp social commentary in an engaging form. Tigsik could be used as instructional material inside the classroom or for performance at rallies. Consider this Tigsik blending humor, truth, and critique. Tigsik ko ang Pilipinas, panong buayang maunas, sa darakupan maulyas, sa turukaban marikas. In English, a toast to the Philippines where cunning crocodiles convene, so slick at telling crafty lies, so swift to cheat and compromise. So, more. Kaya makangalas-ngalas, mayaman na Pilipinas, daay makauroalpas, pagtios na pagkamalas. How strange this wealthy land we praise, yet chained to cursed unending days. It cannot slip misfortune's clasp, it suffers still without a grasp. So these verses capture Tigsik's ability to tease and critique. Its universal appeal lies in its adaptability, allowing other cultures to adopt it for social commentary or spiritual reflection. Imagine Tigsik bringing gospel messages to the streets or wisdom to drinking sessions, blending camaraderie, wit, and faith into a potent mix. What if a single verse could spark a revolution? Tigsik is more than poetry. It is a prophetic voice. It reveals truth through humor, provokes thought through teasing, and calls for action through toasting. It does not tease for its own sake, but for transformation, rewiring the mind toward justice and hope. It comforts the oppressed, confronts the powerful, and offers a vision for a better future. In conclusion, Tigsik is a cultural treasure with the power to prophesy, educate, and awaken. It can be used at schools, community centers, or social media platforms. It could be integrated into educational curricula to teach critical thinking, or used in online campaigns to raise awareness about social issues. By reviving and promoting Tigsik, we can honor its pre-colonial roots, harness its accessibility to address modern challenges, and share its spirit globally. As a blend of wine, wit, and wisdom, Tigsik invites us to celebrate, reflect, and act for God, country, and the common good.
Okay, thank you. So, the Japanese have haikus, 5, 7, 5 syllables. When the Spaniards came to the Philippines, they discovered a similar thing, but with 4 lines and 7 syllables per line. It's a shorter form of Tigsik and a longer form of haiku, and it's called Tanaga. And I have been in love with Tanaga since I published my first book of poem, Sana Yan Lang Ang Pagpatay, which means killing is just a matter of practice. You get used to it. And translations of mystical poems, Nabighani, mesmerized, something like that. And then finally, through Ateneo de Naga, they published my ambition of having a small book of Tanaga with 200 plus poems. Next. Next, please. Tanaga, according to the discoverers, the Spaniards, una poesía muy alta en Tagalog, compuesta de 7 sílabas y 4 versos, llena de metáforas. So a poem that is elevated and composed of 7 syllables or 4 lines, full of metaphor. Next. So, next please. So what are the basic elements in traditional Tanaga? A Tanaga is a small poem. Themes, like the rest, common objects and emotions, usually with no title, probably because the focus is immediately grasped. Figures of speech, metaphors, simile, etc. But it can also serve as a wisdom statement. Meter, 28 syllables. In 28 syllables, you should have 1 poem. And the rhyming pattern would be AAAA, ABAB, ABBA, or AABB. So these are the traditional construction. Next, please. Next, please. So the themes with the Tanaga has broad possibilities for innovation and experimentation, like the Tigsik. So themes nowadays could be used for more objects, more focus. It can go into politics, science, religion, arts, philosophy, rural and urban life, protest, and my ambition is to make use of it even in mysticism. And foreign words can go with new objects and new experiences, styles and strategies. It could be a question, it could be a dialogue, a critique, irony, lament, prayer, parody, etc. Meter is intact, same number of syllables, but could be written in 2 lines. Rhyme, there could be internal rhymes, multiple stanza rhyming pattern, AAAB, AAAB, for example, like that. So my task now is to give you an example of how the Tanaga, the traditional form, could be used or I have used. Next. So for example, this book started with an experience of aging. Aging. It says, kaya ko pang maggunting ng sarili kong kuko. Panahoy paparating, titingin na lang ako. I can still trim my nail, a small act, quiet and pale, but time will come as it must. I'll just watch and I will trust. Or I can still trim my nail, a small act, tender and frail. Soon the years will take their way. I'll just watch somebody else to cut my nail as shadows sway. Next, please. I'm now assigned in Rome and I got in touch with the sculptures there. And I reflect on incarnation, theology. It says, sa kamay nga ng henyo na si Michelangelo, napalambot ang bato at nagkatawang tao. In the hands of genius bright, Michelangelo brought to light. Stone grew soft beneath his care and took a human form so fair. But the English captures a little bit of that, but the word nagkatawang tao is our Tagalog word for incarnation. and the Word was made flesh. But in the Philippines, and the Word became a human being, and I would say a fellow human being, a kapwa. Next, please. Tapon. Tapon is the court. Katotohanan ay tapon. Pilit mo mang ibaon, lulutang dit aahon pagdating ng panahon. Truth is like a cork you press below. Bury it with all your might. Still it floats, and time will show how it rises into light. So also a small ordinary object, but you can drive, so it can emerge, you can allow it to emerge to reveal as a philosophical thought. Next. I spent my 18 months in Mount Apo with the Manobos in my field work as an anthropologist, and I got to learn from Apo Salumay. According to Ani Apo Salumay, mapian kai dit patay, mapian kai dit patay, dit patay. Ani Apo Salumay, mapian kai dit patay, salitang malumanay ay hindi mamamatay. Apo Salumay taught me, mapian kai dit patay, truthful words spoken gently, like the tribe, will never die. Next, please. This is my philosophy of love. Sa ibabaw ng tubig, mga isla hiwalay. Sa silong ng daigdig, lahat ay magkaugnay. Above the waves by the shore, islands seem divided. Deep down on the ocean floor, all are interconnected. Next, please. This is a little cute. Nandalagay kiligin. You know, kilig is difficult to translate. When you see your crush, yeah. Nandalagay kiligin, di nakapagsalita. Sa ngiti niyong pahinhin, doon nagpahalata. When the maiden was downstruck, filled with thrill, thought she would melt, but in her smiling coyness act, she made her real feelings felt. Next, please. There is a saying, I got this from a saying, wika ng matatanda. Pag sa langit dumura, laway mo ay tatama sa sarili mong mukha. Words of old, the elders say, hurl your curse toward the sky. Your own spit will find its way, strike your face, and shame your eye. Next. During COVID time, many people could not grieve properly. I said, gather your tears. Ipunin niyo ang luha nang di nakapagluksa. Pagsalot ay humupa, hihilams ng luha. Yan. Gather all the unshed tears of those bereft of time to mourn. When all this plague disappears, they'll wash the earth at morn. Next. Last, saglit lang ako dito sa daigdig, subalit sa pag-ibig, minuto man ay sulit na sulit. Saglit, sulit, daigdig, pag-ibig, sulit, subalit, sulit. Briefly do I walk this earth, dust that feels the sun, yet in love its moment's birth holds eternity in one. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much to all of our wonderful poets and speakers. We have a brief Q&A session where we can handle a couple of questions from our audience members. If I can invite you to please ask some questions from our poets po.
Thank you. This was the most moving and exhilarating presentation I've heard here in these many days. Thank you so much. And I have a question to Father Wilmer about the Tigsik. But when Rizal was in Germany, he wrote a 2-page talumpati speech in Berlin, Tagalische Verskunst, the art of verse in Tagalog. And there he writes that as a child in Binyan, in the province of Laguna, they would do word battles among the children. And that this was the way to keep some ancient verb forms. And when reading that, I was thinking of the Balaktasan. And I was wondering if that is a relative of the Tigsik.
I don't know how to answer your question. I'm not familiar with that form. And going back to the Tigsik, actually, it's an oral tradition. We don't even know what poems were written first in the form of a Tigsik, because you just use that for entertainment. So that's something we want to do, to unearth, to discover where we got it from. So those are mostly our conjectures. But during breakfast, I was telling Christian about Karl Popper's conjectures and refutations. Keep conjecturing. You need those conjectures until it's refuted by evidences. So again, going back to Rizal's mention of what word is it? Of balag. Correct. So there's a similarity, because during drinking session, before you can sip from the tuba, you will have to recite a tigsik, and then you ask the next to do that. So unless you can recite that kind of poem, you will be prevented from drinking. so probably the balagtasan kind of thing is very similar to the tigsik. It's an exchange of wit.
Let me answer. I'm more familiar with that. Balagtasan is a debate in verse. And usually there are two camps, pro and con, and there is this Lakandiwa, who is the judge. And the whole debate, including the judge's wisdom, would constitute a discourse in poetry with rhyme and meter. And usually the lines are longer, like 6. The minimum would be 12 syllables per line, with the cesura on the 6th. So 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, etc. And they, in the beginning, the judge would say, this is our topic. For example, should we go into development or preserving of the environment? Development or environment. So somebody would represent the environment and somebody would represent the development, and each one would be given a chance to expound, and then the other one to answer, and then they question each other. And towards the end, their lines become shorter. Pag ang aking katwiran ay nabaluktot, kahit sa katangalian, hahapon ng manok. Things like that. If my argument fails, the chicken will sleep even in noontime. The same thing, things like that. So the lines are longer, and it's really by the way, I think that kind of line of poetic form is now apparent in raps. Yeah. So I admire them.
Closer to a rap battle po, Father, no? Closer to a rap battle. Any other questions? I think we can take one more. Yes, ma'am. Over there.
Hello, everyone. I don't know if this is connected, but in Bicol region or even in Tagalog during Lenten season, I don't know what kind of art this is, but they're doing the Passion of Christ, but it's not, they sing and they answer each other. What kind of genre is that?
I grew up reading the Pabasa, and it's like Tigsik in terms of number of syllables, but it's like the some Ambahan because it has 5 lines. Nang si Kristo ay namatay. Ganyan, ano. So that's 8 syllables per line and 5 lines per stanza.
Thank you very much po, ma'am. Connected po, yes. Okay. We have time for one last question, if there's any. Yes.
Thank you for sharing. I just noticed how so many of the forms deal with song and humor. And I wanted to know if you had any thoughts on how poetry using humor and song are natural expressions of comfort, because we come from a country where life is so hard. And we turn naturally, I think, to making ourselves laugh or singing. I wonder if you had any thoughts on these prehistoric forms as the main ways that have preserved our humor and our natural affinity towards music to comfort ourselves.
Thank you for the question. I think that's a really important point in a lot of these poems. Humor and irony and satire also is very important for critique. In Laji tradition, we have, I mentioned the kayun, which is when there's a representative from the a pre-wedding ceremony. So there's a representative from the bride and representative from the groom. And when they start doing their Laji, they represent the groom, right? And so they will come up and say, oh, you don't really want to marry this guy because he doesn't know how to take care of cows or pigs, and what he plants always withers and dies. And, so there's an extreme humility. I think it's a quality attached to the comic aspect of it. But I think that humility is really important also, because what that does is that creates a connection between people. We have this sense in the Philippines, I think, where we are very humble, right? Very strong people, very resourceful people, but also we're very humble. We bring humility into the situation. And I think when you mention that comic aspect of it, I think the humility part too is very important to recognize, because it creates community between the two parties that are going to get married, and it creates an opportunity to accept the other person, right?
I'll take advantage of that question to say that another form which we should probably explore is the lullaby. And I think if we have another session like this, let's have a session on lullaby. Okay.
Thank you, Father, for that. That was amazing po. I think we have time for one more. Yes, we have time for one more if there's anyone who would like to ask another question, a final question. Sir? Sir, over there. Thank you.
Sorry po. I just speak in Tagalog. Sir, Father, I would just like to ask regarding sa epiko and yung connection ng epiko at saka ng passion. Meron ba siyang similarity or parang yung passion ba na nung dumating sa yung Kristyanismo sa Pilipinas, para bang inadapt ng Kristyanismo yung mga epiko ng mga katutubo natin?
I'll translate them first. So the question is about Philippine epic poetry and the Passion. Our guest was asking if there was any connection between those forms, especially because the Passion came through during our colonial past. And we are running out of time, so I'll just ask for one quick response, Father.
Well, as a matter of fact, the different tribes have their own epics, their own forms. For the Tagalog, it's the Passion that serves as its own epic. Yeah. So there's similar. It's a long stretch of narrative. But the Manobos, they have their own Narandangan And Biag na nilam ang so for the Ilocanos, but for the Tagalogs, it's the Passion that serves as epic.
Thank you very much po for our wonderful audience for joining us here. And thank you very much again to our poets, Mr. Renato Evangelista, Dorian Merina, Father Wilmer Tria, and Father Albert Alejo. Maraming salamat po for joining us. Thank you po. Before we leave,
kan hadulan na timbawi denggam dalam yulino ladag nalam modu batu ladag dalam. Okay, that is a short song for Tabali. It means just like a river named Makulan. So it's very noisy, but when you come across that river, it's very shallow, and the stones is not sharpened. So that's the parables for Tabali women. Then I have another song. This is a sample of a song that a certain mother advised her daughter not to marry a man who is very poggy, pretty, and having all these ornaments on his body, but you will become a battered wife. So you select a man who is not masalita, at yung kulang sa gawa. So itong awit na to. But the day da uhamwi tanele kam gonom hiki tanele kam gonom hawit kabang lagi tamumfa fani lagi hamilat kandit bengkele gom gasawi chodan tuna kunawi ito hamwit kalagi melo kalit kalagi melo ifit bengkele egonom hiki ito hamwit tu the bangonom hiki tu the bangonom gasawit kalagi to alang bang daolit balwi kudaan segeni itembut kodo betik hana tegana iklot niti ito hamwit kong lagi la malo kelit kong lagi la malo ifit kong lagi ila masan midito hamwit. These are the songs of the Balis. Actually, we have different songs, the short songs, the lullaby, and the epic songs. So we cannot give you epic songs today because epic, in one episode of epic, it depends upon the composer. I am also a composer. I learned epic from my father at the age of 5. And we can sing epic the whole night. Yeah. So, just a glimpse of epic. Maybe 1 minute. Just an introduction to epic. Ufukuda tadamul anukla matukufut gamdalit anuk mogul manay kabo kendalum ket magong konan matut ket bekuk kon lekadung la na mawasangi hungul tlugan nataftatung genluy telunay ay sabung madakdol alam bulul temian sangi hungul lam luna igikun benudwe bang abal oyen tu de bulul kunda tu kamumu teriyung ket konon mihai sigin ket konon tembuk alabunda tu kamumu lana uket konon muhai sigeke wana neng ket konon tembuk lanau semgulang wen dua tande mat yo de elen malui mawak aturu sabu ia malu ngawahan tembukun mau film kabau sembakung torok grafim akafum koman seni tu geng kefu kagaled libun alalametan sagu kembang tebatu malung sana gon setung libun webeng suke keding la mulul en beng datu mogo wilun. Just an introduction. So we have different songs, mini songs. So one day, 1 month is not enough to tell you the stories of our tribe. So thank you and good day. And now the dancer imitates the movement of Tahoe birds. Now I give you Kadal Tahoe.